how many people here think of Bitcoin as generational wealth? And almost every hand went up. And then I said, okay, folks, how many of you people that want your Bitcoin to go to your heirs have a proper will, trust, healthcare proxy, power of attorney coordinated with your Bitcoin? 0 hands went up. Now I'm sitting in an audience of solid Bitcoiners, and they're all going, oh, wow, I didn't know I needed that.
We finally got Surfer Jim out of the water and into the studio. I know that that warm water here is hard to leave.
It's beautiful.
Nothing like the East Coast there, right?
Oh, the East Coast of New York, Long Island is cold this time of year.
Does it ever warm up there?
Honestly, it gets very warm in the summer.
Really?
Totally big.
No wetsuit?
72-degree water, 72 Fahrenheit.
Oh, that's cold.
Yeah, well, it's 85 here, so yeah, it's definitely cold compared to here. But I knew what I was coming for. I've surfed in the tropics before. I was very excited to paddle out with my baggies on this morning. It was great.
How was it this morning?
It was fun. It was fun. It's a fun wave. It's easy to catch. It's not crazy. I prefer lefts, but I wanted to experience the right because I know that's like the main wave. So I paddled out with the crowd over there. Okay. I got out there pretty early.
I actually prefer the left here.
I know. I really wish I had paddled over and grabbed a couple, but it's fine.
The right, sometimes I feel like you're just waiting for it to set up, waiting for it to set up. The left is just grinding, just all the way through.
When I was walking back, I was like regretting, like, why didn't I go grab a few of those? But whatever.
Well,
I'll be back.
You'll have to come back.
I will definitely be back. There's isn't there a conference at the end of the year?
In November, yeah.
I'm seriously thinking I better come back for that one because I'm really loving it here. I never thought I would. I've been to a lot of surf spots, and people say, oh, why don't you want to go to El Salvador and surf there? And I'm like, well, on a world scale, it's good, but there's better places. And if I'm going to spend my money on a surf trip, maybe I want to go to Hawaii or somewhere else. But now that I've been here, the culture, the vibe here is very cool. Being able to buy something in a bar with Bitcoin is just cool.
Yeah.
And just the general vibe. Everybody in the water was really cool. No stress. Like, I don't know. I felt really comfortable here. It was a very nice experience.
And El Zonte it's a really fun wave. It's not like a world-class wave, but they do have Punta Roca is definitely a world-class wave.
I know all about
it. Punta Mongo on the other end of the country, we have a place down there, and when it's on, the barrels there are just amazing. I haven't heard of that spot,
but I know they have the ASP contest at Punta Roca. And
just do a Google search for videos at Punta Mongo and see some of the barrels there. Yeah,
I love barrels when I can get them.
Yeah, it can get a little crowd sometimes. Sometimes you can get it with nobody, and then you hear like this, and you're like, crap, a boat's coming. I hope it's not a boat of Brazilians. And then when they get out and there's like 12 of them and then a pack, you're like,
take over.
It's time to go in.
I've had that experience.
So nothing against Brazilians, but they're known the world over as they surf in big packs and
they're aggressive.
Yeah.
Not in a mean way, but they
hustle. And they always show up in big groups, and then they kind of team. They work as a team. So you're always like, ah.
Yeah, I travel solo typically.
Yeah.
Just melt. Sort of. Try to blend in. I don't like to stand out too much if I can help it. I don't want to make a fuss. I don't want to get vibed out in a lineup where I'm not a local. I mean, anybody who's surfed any amount of time, every beach has its locals, and a famous beach gets tourists coming through all the time. So the locals hate that generally, but they also pretty much dominate. So you only get a wave if they let you. So I try to keep a low profile and just get my little scraps, whatever I can grab. So it's all good.
So I want to hear your Bitcoin story. How did you wind up in this space?
All right. So I have to go back a little further to the business that I've been running for 35 years. I own a construction company, and I work in a place where people have to trust us because we work on their homes when they're not there. It's a summer community. They're out there in the summer. They don't want us around, but they want their renovations done all winter long. many years ago when I started this business, before the internet was what it is today and digital photography and all, I would take photos of the work I did and get double prints and mail them to my clients. And they really loved it. And I was able to build a serious level of trust with people that what they hired me to do was getting done the way I said. And when they come out in the summer, it's what they expected. Mm-hmm. And I recognized early on that this is critical. This trust is super, super critical. I mean, I always knew it generally in life, but when I started working in this area, no one knew me and I had a clean slate. And I had this brand new opportunity to not screw up, essentially, or at least try not to. And I ended up, my first customers, some of the most coolest, nicest people, unfortunately passed away, but their kids own the house, and nobody but me has worked on that house for 35 years because these people loved me. They told 30, 40 of their neighbors to hire me. In the first year, I got tons of customers because everybody's got something to say about the last guy, whatever. And what I figured to do was to just, every new customer I would say, well, what happened to the last guy? And I would learn what not to do.
Yeah.
So I was able to create a good trust model with my clients, and I never advertised. I've never had a website, and I've never not had work for 35 years.
Wow,
it's pretty
that's
amazing.
impressive.
And it's all because I do what I say I'm going to do. I write detailed contracts that people can read that and know what to expect. And then when they see it done, they go, okay, that's what I paid for. And so I learned early on that if you want to be successful, you gotta be a nice guy and do what you say, and in life general. So my Bitcoin story. First touch, a younger guy, gamer, tells me about this internet money, and I totally dismissed it because I'm not into gaming.
Yeah.
And he's much younger than me, so what does he know? I wish I paid attention. That was 2015 probably. Randomly, I'm scanning Netflix. I haven't watched TV. I haven't owned a TV in 5 years. But back then, before I was a Bitcoiner, I watched TV, See this thing on Netflix about Bitcoin. I'm like, oh, I wonder. I like documentaries, and it was a documentary, so I'm going to watch it. The takeaway for me was Bitcoin's too complicated. You need to be a computer nerd because this was like filmed back when people were doing GPU mining in their living rooms, and these computer nerds with wires all over like you guys have right here. And I'm like, yeah, all right, it's cool and all, but it wasn't anything about a better monetary system. It was about, you can mine these Bitcoins and they might be worth something. And I was like, again, it's cool, but I don't care. And it wasn't until 2016, end of 2016, I started, the cell phone services were changing, and I had a plan that had unlimited service. So I started watching YouTube videos of just general stuff. And I noticed the algorithm on YouTube will feed you stuff relative to other stuff. And so I came across something Bitcoin. And then eventually there was this one TED Talk by this lady, and the one line that stuck out, I went back and watched it years later, and she really didn't understand Bitcoin all that well. But she said one thing that was all I needed. She said, you can trust the Bitcoin protocol without trusting any of the people involved in it. And I went, well, that's weird. I got to understand that because people are who you trust. And that was it. So I spent 6 months trying to figure this thing out. So as a kid growing up, I took things apart. I wanted to see how they worked inside. And so I felt like in order for me to understand Bitcoin, I need to understand all the moving parts. So I learned about SHA-256, never heard of it, never heard of what is hashing, never heard of that in my life. And all the unique elements that go into Bitcoin. And it took me 6 months. I was very fortunate to come across YouTubers like Tone Vase, a good friend of mine now, who knew what they were talking about. He was talking with guys like Giacomo Zucco, Jimmy Song. And I'm friends with all these guys now because I realized I gotta get into this. This is really important. I started going to conferences, and 6, 7 years later, whatever it is, here I am, and I'm blown away by the whole thing. But I will say though, it totally changed my life, like it does for most people. And I'm more optimistic at 63 than I was at 33, and the world's going to crap right now. And I'm still optimistic as hell because I know how I want my future to play out. And I got some good plans, and it's just amazing. My whole life has changed so much, but I'm so excited about where it's going. So Bitcoin has just been it for me. It's amazing.
So you still have the construction company that's
not for
ongoing.
long. I want to retire. I'm so done with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still
And is it mostly winter, like the summer's pretty light, or it's year round?
Oh, no. People wait for me in the summer that don't live on this barrier island. It's called Fire Island. The mainland of Long Island has millions of people.
Okay.
And so I got customers on the mainland that wait for me because I say I can't do anything in the winter. I got to service these customers. So I have work year round.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, but now you were mentioning earlier that you've been working with Bitcoin Advisors. So I've heard that that name or that company thrown around a lot lately, actually, and I don't know anything about them. So
Okay,
yeah,
well,
so
I'm happy to tell you.
So show me the Bitcoin Advisor and what role you play in it.
All right, I am an advisor. We have advisors all over the world. So Peter Dunworth, founding partner of the business, is a financial consultant, financial advisor in Australia. He's got lots of clients with lots of money, and they started getting into Bitcoin around, I think it was 2016. And he started having to realize he needed to service them and help secure their Bitcoin. And out of that grew the Bitcoin Advisor. And our goal is to get people's Bitcoin off exchanges and get it into self-custody. But we offer collaborative custody, multi-sig self-custody. So you now have a key that controls your Bitcoin, but there are backup keys. Anybody in Bitcoin understands multi-sig custody. But the collaborative custody part of it is where you hold a key and two other key agents hold keys, like reputable professional companies. So that's us. We work with Unchained Capital a lot. They build the multi-sig in many cases for us. We are multi-sig agnostic. We don't care who builds the multi-sig. We just become a key holder. But one of our main value adds, what we find is when people use our services, we're able to help them acquire more Bitcoin. Like, there's a lot of things people don't know about their financial condition that they can rearrange. One of the main things is people have money in retirement plans, self-directed stuff. They can't touch it anyway, and they don't know they can own Bitcoin in there.
Yeah.
It's a matter of structuring it right. So we are able to help people take money they already have, get some of it for some Bitcoin exposure. They're already Bitcoiners at this point. And so our customers love us. But
so you guys actually help them move to self-directed IRAs?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We help get it all going. Like, we know all the right people.
Yeah.
We connect everybody. We're advisors. We help people make it happen, whatever it takes. And we got people all over the world that have, knowledge in all kinds of fields. So we help each other all the time. Like, if somebody's got a client that's a builder and he wants to talk to a Bitcoiner that's a builder, I'm happy to go on a call with one of my advisor associates and help orange pill their client, right? We help each other, so it's good. A little backtrack, in my 20s, I had almost 10 years experience in the financial services industry before I started my construction company. And I worked at a firm that did a lot of retirement planning.
Okay.
We set up people's pension plans. We did a lot of work with corporations and retirement employee benefit plans and stuff. And it naturally flows into estate planning. And what you'll find is most people do not have a very good estate plan. And if you have nothing, you don't have a will, a trust, nothing, the government's going to settle your estate. And they're going to distribute your assets in a way you might not want. And so we are really big on getting people to coordinate their Bitcoin into their estate plan, which most people don't even have yet.
Yeah.
But we get in touch. We help them. We help explain to their professionals, lawyers, accountants, whoever they care that is part of their life. And we explain to them what we do so that they, a lot of these people are not Bitcoiners, so we're educating constantly.
Yeah.
And we have a document that we create called an estate planning protocol, and it has some very important technical information in there, like the multi-sig wallet configuration file, which is very important. It identifies exactly what Bitcoin we're talking about. And we provide that to an attorney so that it can be properly incorporated into someone's trust, typically a trust. So I know...
Yeah, well, because I know a lot of people go to the grave with their keys and then their family doesn't have any way to access them. What is sad.
It's really sad.
Yeah.
And this is, so I don't know if you were there, but we did a talk at the halving party, myself and Ben, BTC Sessions, and it was about custody.
Okay, yeah, I think I was recording a podcast during that time.
You can go back and watch it. But it was interesting because I had this idea in my head that I can get the audience to wake up on this topic with 2 questions, and it worked like flawless. I was kind of blown away. So we went from custody where you really don't have custody, your keys are on exchange. And we started talking as if it's newbies in the audience. Now we're talking to mostly Bitcoiners, so a lot of this they understand. And Ben was smart enough to say, you are on this scale somewhere. You fit in. We're going to go from worst case scenario to strongest, most secure, which is the multi-sig. And so we went through this discussion. So it came time for me to explain what we do. And I asked 2 questions of the audience. I said, how many people here think of Bitcoin as generational wealth? And almost every hand went up. And then I said, okay, folks, how many of you people that want your Bitcoin to go to your heirs have a proper will, trust, healthcare proxy, power of attorney coordinated with your Bitcoin? 0 hands went up. And I said, well, folks, you're all screwed. I mean, I don't know if I used those words, but you all have work to do. Now I'm sitting in an audience of solid Bitcoiners, and they're all going, oh, wow, I didn't know I needed that. Here's the problem. The Bitcoin protocol does not recognize court orders. The only way your Bitcoin moves is if somebody moves it. Somebody has to have a private key. Somebody has to move it to the right person. As a fiduciary holding a key, we are going to go out of our way to make sure, what is your will? What does your trust say? Who are the people who are supposed to get it? We're not just going to sign a message and send it to anybody.
Yeah.
And we're not going to send it to somebody just because a court says to. What we have going for us is we have multi-geographic distribution of keys. We can have a client in Europe. We could use Unchained in America. They could hold a key, and we hold a key in Australia. That's really hard to force movement of Bitcoin. So we are a really, really solid backup for a person that really wants to make sure that Bitcoin gets to the right people without the courts or the law or states or governments getting in the way. And we think it's the best way to do it. A lot of people have done multi-sig. There's some smart people out there. Typically, they hold all the keys and they got to give them to friends and family who may or may not ever figure it out someday. And some court could come along and say, no, you're not allowed. Now that person might go, I don't want to go to jail, so I won't do what the benefactor really wanted me to do. So what are you going to do? We're a fiduciary. We have a legal responsibility to honor our obligations. We're going to do what the client wanted, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, I love too that it's distributed to countries around the world. Because like you said, it's one thing to get it forced in one country, but try to get it forced in multiple countries is.
And what's interesting when you think about it, if you have a wallet and you have the private key, single sig, you have to protect that. If anybody else gets it, they could have the Bitcoin.
Yeah.
In multi-sig, you can leave your key right on the table. You can give it to anybody you want. They can't move your Bitcoin without another key. So we make multiple backups of everybody's keys, and then we distribute them within Australia and other places because it doesn't matter who sees it.
Yeah.
So it's a really safe way to have. And what's awesome about this is it's all built on the Bitcoin protocol. It's not built on legal precedents outside of Bitcoin. So it cannot be changed unless you follow the protocol rules. You have to sign valid messages that the network will recognize. You understand all this. And so it's a really interesting yet solid and secure way to custody the Bitcoin. And then, again, nobody wants to talk about dying, right? But unfortunately, we're all going there. And
guaranteed.
I learned a long time ago, and my brother and sister had to settle my mom's estate and her parents' estate, and we had all this going, and it was perfect. It went great. And unfortunately, for the clients that we've lost 2 that I'm aware of that were set up, and their Bitcoin went right where it needed to be, and their families are ecstatic over the fact that we forced them to, not forced them, but highly encourage them to get this going. So far, our
everybody
setup
thinks I'll do it later.
Always. I mean, the whole audience I was talking to, none of them have done it.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of people close to my age. The closer you get to death, the more important it gets. But even young folks, you got to do this stuff, folks.
No,
you got to do it.
I did work as a financial planner for a short stint before I realized that I'm not. It was more sales than planning, and I hated it. But part of it, one aspect was life insurance, and term life insurance, especially with people with kids, is something good to have.
Yeah.
And everybody would know it, but they just didn't want, had so many missed meetings because there was always something more important. They didn't want to face the fact that they might die, and so
it's tough.
It's funny. My favorite story, a lot of times you'd base it on you'd have a higher amount if the husband died because they were the primary breadwinner. I had this one couple came in and he's like, no, we need a higher amount on her because if I die, somebody will scoop her up. She'll be fine. But if she dies, I'm gonna have to be rich in order to find another wife.
That was a good one.
I thought that was pretty good.
So one of the things that really got me into the estate planning aspect of this, because we actually handled a lot of insurance. We would use insurance to protect people. And the best example that always comes to my mind is partners in a business. You set up what's called a buy-sell agreement, because one guy does not want to be a partner with the other guy's wife one day. So you insure each other. The money's instantly available when one guy dies, and you buy out the wife, and you get the company. And so now you're helping a business partnership plan their business, and you're talking about estate planning. And so our business model focused a lot on that. Now, that's a long time ago. I quit that industry because I wasn't stoked about it, you know, like kind of like you with the life. There was a lot of sales, right? And I was not in control of the products. I didn't like that when they changed.
Well, a lot of the products were horrible too, and and the other people selling them didn't realize. I would always dig into everything. I'm like, I can't sell this.
Oh yeah, I would read the contracts and go,
all the fees and
you know what was my worst thing being a salesman was like I felt compelled to tell people all the details, and good salesmen never did that. They go, this is what you get. It's great. And I would want to, well, what about withdrawal penalties? What about like whatever? And
I'm always compelled. Like, you'd be better off just doing this over here yourself. I can't sell you that, but that's probably what you're better off doing. But that
then you don't make any money, right?
So I was like, okay,
it's a little conflict. Listen, I was in the same boat.
That's why I got out so quick.
That's kind of how I got out, because I wasn't in control of it, enough stuff. I actually was listening to some motivational speaking, like tapes in the car, when the cassette tapes were a thing. And this guy, Brian Tracy, he says to me, if you're a salesman, and you're going to sell something, let's say you're an intellect, you like thinking about stuff, but you're going to be a salesman. You should sell an intangible product like stocks, mortgages, insurance, something like that. But if you're somebody who works with his hands, you should probably sell something that's tangible, that you can build or show people. And I went, oh, I got to quit. It was an instantaneous thought in my head. I rewound the tape. I'm like, I have to quit my job. I love building and fixing. And I thought, what am I going to do? Well, I had been in construction earlier, in my younger days, from teenager into my 20s. And I said, well, that's what I know. And I had always had people would call me for stuff because they knew I knew some stuff. So I'm doing this career and somebody would say, hey, can you fix my roof? I know you know how to do that. And so I had connections. And then I got a guy, an architect called me, he says, and it was a roof thing. I was very good at roofing. I still am very good at roofing. I know a lot about roofing. Architect says, I got a big job. The contractor can't stop a roof leak. Can you help us? I'm like, you know, it's not really what I do. He's like, Jim, I know you're good at this. So I go over, I look at the job. I fixed it, of course. I know how, whatever. And the woman that owns the house, this is a like 120-year-old house on Long Island, big mansion, real old money. This lady was loaded, really super nice lady. And she goes, how much would it cost to change the whole roof, the big upper roof? This was a lower porch roof that was leaking. And I came up with a price like 30 grand. This is like early 90s. And she hired me. I didn't have a company. I didn't have a ladder. I didn't have a truck. I had nothing. And I sold this really big roof job. And I'm like, okay, I guess I got to do it. And I was like, well, I'm in the construction business. I'm going to go for this. And we did it. And then she hired me for tons of work for at least a decade or two until she passed away. So, I mean, it was amazing. And that was like, I said, wow, I can sell my construction work. And then I just learned every other thing that I didn't know enough about. I learned how to do tile work. I learned how to do plumbing, electric, framing, siding. I already knew a good roofing, but I mean, there's so much about building a house. So I can do almost every trade pretty well. But I use professionals. I sub out a lot so that we can get it done faster. My crew's not huge, and they don't know all the things I know. But the construction business took off. I had the sales background, so I understood how contracts worked. I literally wrote all my own contracts. I still do. I write every single contract myself. I run the entire business. This is crazy. I worked in the field. I would go home, write the contracts. I would do the billing. I've literally been running this entire business by the seat of my pants most of this time. I have a good bookkeeper now that helps me with the records. I have a really good foreman that runs the crew. He's awesome. And his daughter works on the crew. She's an incredible painter, but she's also like a crazy hard worker. Like she outworks the guys sometimes, and she's like 100 pounds. But anyway, they want to take over the business, and I'm happy to sell it to them. So we're in the middle of working out the details, and I'm hoping to like retire. But I can't leave Long Island because I've been spending 8 years helping to develop a wave pool.
And this is what I'm excited about talking about, because I'm going to convince you to bring that effort down here to El Salvador.
Well, it's very expensive. But we have our own proprietary technology. Our wave pool will be the only one like it, and it will be incredibly unique, and the world is going to notice. They're going to come in
what
droves.
that you can tell us makes it different? I'm sure there's things
Well,
that are
I
proprietary
can tell you,
and secret.
I'm not going to tell you how we do it, but every wave pool that's out there is very limited in how big they can make waves or how different they can make waves. Most of the waves are very similar over and over again, and it's a great experience, but you don't have a lot of variety. They may change, like the in the mall in New Jersey. It was made for kids to play in, and they figured out it could ride surfboards. So after hours, they let surfers go in there, and they have 3 or 4 different waves: a good right, a good left, a middle peak. But that's all you get. But what they do
is it a decent wave?
For a wave pool in New Jersey, it's okay. I've been there twice. Heavily chlorinated, though. It's almost too much. You go there at night after all the kids have been in there, they shock the pool. And oh man, one time I went, I was getting nauseous. Anyway, it's a little unnatural. What are you going to do? But the what was my point going to be?
What you guys are working on to make different waves.
Right. So you look at Kelly Slater's wave pool in California. It's the same wave either direction. It's the tram that goes down and makes the wave. Okay. It's a great wave, of course, but it's the same wave, and is never generally bigger. It's always the same size. So we thought that's not good enough. We need to fix that. So we created a technology, and we literally made it up as we went. And we built a scale model test tank. I built as a builder, and we figured out a way to replicate in scale model what we wanted to do. So our wave generation system can make a different wave every wave. We can put out a 1-footer for a beginner and a 7-footer for a pro. We can make a wave grow along the pool, so it'll go from the one back corner to one front corner. The pool is going to be about the size of an American football field and rides 75 to 100 yards long. But we can make a wave.
It's a long ride.
Yes, and in the surfing world, that's a good ride.
Oh, yeah.
So we also shaped the reef so the takeoff is going to be real easy, and then it's going to get steep and barrely. So the reef is not going to change, but we can change the pressure and the speed at which the energy moves forward onto the reef, or how fast it goes across the reef. So I can make a wave that gets bigger or smaller, like a natural wave is always bigger and then gets smaller. We can make a wave that starts one side but keeps getting bigger. We can make a wave that slows down or speeds up. We can do an A-frame peak and go out. We have walls on 3 sides of this pool. We figured out we can start energy from like the middle, push it towards the wall, and then fire it back in the other direction. So the peak at the wall can be, we're hoping, our
almost kind of like the wedge or some of these
breaks.
Yeah,
You push a little energy towards the wall, let it bounce off, and then add energy and go back the other way. And we did it. We had it working. We have all these programmed waves in our system now.
Yeah.
And our measurements tell us that that's a 12-foot face. There's not a wave pool in the world that has a wave that big. Now, whether it ends up being that in real life, it's fine. But our tagline is 7 foot and hollow every day. So we're hoping that we have the largest man-made wave, and we definitely will have the most varied man-made wave. And we figure that people out in a session, 10, 20 people in the pool at a time, everybody will get a colored armband or a numbered jersey or something, and you'll give the wave operator your list of waves that you want to surf that day. And when it's your time up, they'll program that wave for you. So I want 3 lefts, then I want 3 rights, then I want this. I want the closeout air section.
Yeah.
And so we
figured is it gonna the frequency of the waves, will it be more like the Kelly Park or like the what's the place in Texas?
Waco. Yeah, I forget what they call it, but I might be going there.
But like Tuesday. Waco has like a ton of waves, where Kelly's only produces, I don't know, it's like
one every couple minutes.
30 waves a day or something.
Yes, it's really limited. Yeah, no, we're gonna be able to pump out a lot of waves.
Okay.
But there's a challenge. So you're in nature, the energy of the wave gets dispersed. It goes back out in different places. Yeah. In a pool, you have to work that out. You don't want a lot of backwash.
Yeah, because that's the problem with the sides, if it bouncing off.
It's more, the wave has to finish up and that energy has to go somewhere. And the next ride, so the first wave is going to be pristine. The next one, maybe not. So we figured out we can use the natural what's the right word? Frequency from one wave to the next. So the energy of the first wave, if you time it, you can push the energy of the second wave right behind it. So if you're producing similar waves, you sync with the flow of each wave.
Makes sense.
So you can get 3 or 4 or 5 waves out before the energy really starts coming back and messes it up. And then you could shut it down for a couple minutes and let it cool down, and then you start it again. But we're also working out. We've been doing a lot of testing, and we've rearranged the reef a bunch of times because we want to get that water to flow around the edges and kind of come back in a part where it won't disturb the waves in the middle of the pool. That's another one of hopefully one of the things that we bring to the table is this ability to make waves and every wave be nice and clean.
Yeah.
So the pool's not built. We have 3.5 acres. We have all the permits. Took us 2 years to get permits in New York to have a public pool, and there's a big hole in the ground, but we're still a long way away. We're still over a year away from being done with it and real testing. But it's 8 years in the making, so we're still going. But you're gonna love this. Okay, there's a great Bitcoin angle to this wave pool that you probably don't even know is coming. So me being the Bitcoin guy, I'm talking to him and I'm learning how we're going to do everything because so much of it is other people figuring stuff out. And in calculating what does it cost to push water and make a wave, you need a lot of energy. And if you're going to use some kind of pump that requires electricity costs in New York are not low, but we have a really good natural gas system. And we're going to use natural gas to produce electricity to run all the pumps to make the waves. We're buying it's called a cogen plant. Some company in Europe makes it, and it's like $20 million. But like all electrical generation facilities, they run best when they stay running steady.
Yeah.
But we will need intermittent use of that. So we're going to balance our own load with Bitcoin miners.
Nice.
We found out after we decided that was our sort of package, how we're going to make this work, we found out from I forget who, the generation company, somebody said when you burn really clean natural gas, which is what we'll be using, it's like food grade, like comes in people's kitchens, so it's really clean. When you burn that, you get 2 byproducts, water and carbon dioxide. So the exhaust from the generator is just going to go up into the sky. But people buy carbon dioxide to make carbonated beverages. And we're going to be producing so much that a company, we're hiring a company to come in and build a capture system. They're going to capture the CO2 and sell it on the market for us. So we're going to split the profits. They told us, based on all the numbers, that we just added $4 million a year in revenue that we didn't even know existed. And I went, what? They told me, I go, you got to be kidding me. I got on the phone with one of these guys. He goes, no, this is how it works. Yeah, we capture the CO2, we sell it, and people buy it. I'm like, holy crap. We're going to mine Bitcoin. This is the greenest project in the entire state of New York. No exhaust, waves, and Bitcoin.
Love it.
It's crazy. And I think, how the hell did I get here? The guy in charge, my good friend Chris, we go back to high school. We've been surfing together 40 years.
Yeah.
And he came back from Typhoon Lagoon in Florida. He went and surfed it after hours. Right? This is one of these wave pools. They let surfers go in. And he comes back, Jim, we got to build a wave pool. My first response is, what do you mean we? I got no money for build a wave pool. He's a very successful businessman. He's got a lot more money than me. But his son was, 18 at the time or whatever, in college, excited about the idea. His son is in his late 20s now, and he knows more about wave pools than anybody I know for sure. He knows all about our project. He can rattle off these numbers like nothing. And he's going to run this thing. We want to franchise it. He's going to be a wave pool builder for the rest of his career. We're going to go right down the East Coast and build them just inland where there's already surfers. The East Coast generally sucks.
I think you're missing the thing here.
What am I missing?
El Salvador, because
we'll franchise it down. You got to have $40 million to build this thing.
The New Jersey, it's going to be cold surfing there.
Yeah, but all the equipment we're going to make waves with, the generator, the other stuff, it all makes heat. Okay. We're going to put that heat in the water.
Are you going to use the miners
We're going to capture the heat off all the equipment. We're going to filter it through a heat exchange, and the water's going to be like 70 degrees even in the winter.
Okay.
Yeah, so still need a wetsuit, but it'll be super comfortable. And imagine you catch your wave, you don't paddle back out, you walk back and jump in the deep end. But on the way back, you stop under the hot outdoor shower and put some in your wetsuit. And, you know, like, it's just, we got a really cool
Well, you
plan
guys
going.
perfect it there, and then we'll do the second one. I honestly think El Salvador is the perfect place for a wave pool because literally you could surf 24/7 in your trunks.
Absolutely.
And it's an easy flight from, you know, because I know people fly to the Kelly Slater wave pool from all over the world.
Yeah.
El Salvador is like 3 to 5 hours from almost anywhere in the U.S. Brazilians are coming here all the time. So I actually think that it would make a lot of sense to have, and you have natural surf too. So you have people come here, they can surf the wave pool for a day or two, and then they go surf the other spots.
So all right. So I do need to not caution you. I mean, like, you have to see what kind of numbers that this can generate. So in order, you can only put out so many waves in an hour.
Yeah.
So you're going to be limited on how many people can catch a wave. And what is that going to cost an individual per wave? How much is somebody willing to pay? You go to Kelly Slater's wave pool, you're going to spend several $1,000s for the day. You may only get 5 or 6 waves.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the experience, some people will pay. My friend Chris is a country club member. He plays golf. People pay a lot of money to join country clubs, and then they pay to play their rounds.
Yeah.
And they're obligated to buy food in the restaurant, and they're obligated to buy stuff at the pro shop to keep it viable. He says, we're going to build that kind of membership model. We did a lot of surveys. We got, you know, a lot of surfers on Long Island, so we got a mailing list going. We put out surveys. What would you want to spend? How many times would you go? All that. And we calculated we need 350 full-time members paying their membership fee and then paying to surf, and we'll do fine. We had, I don't know, 5,000 people on our mailing list, and they all want to be members until they find out what it costs. But we're already.
So what can you disclose what it costs to be a member?
To be a single member is about $35,000, and but you own it and you can sell it.
And what does that does that include just the right to pay to surf it, or what does that include?
You have full membership to the facility. So there's going to be a spa. We're going to have an office space if you want to go surf in the morning, do some office work before you go to your office. So there's going to be a restaurant on the upper deck with view of the pool. We're going to have video cameras to film everybody's rides. So you get all that.
Yeah.
You can bring friends with a guest fee. So if you're a member, you can bring lots of people. So if people that are not members can come. We plan to hold public sessions here and there, you know, charity type things. I want to have a giant Bitcoin party there. I want to invite just Bitcoiners. Yeah.
That would be sweet.
I really hope. And my friend Chris is a Bitcoiner, thanks to me, and his son also. So they're all cool with all this stuff. So, but it's $35,000. It's a little more if you're a family. I don't remember all the fees, but we already have a couple hundred people paying off their memberships in advance, and the pool's over a year away.
Okay.
We got people excited, like it's crazy. We have a lot of wealthy surfers in New York. There's a lot of guys older like me that still surf.
Yeah.
I'm shocked. When I was 20 years old, there was no 60-year-old surfers. You go out in the lineup in New York, there's dozens. They're everywhere. Guys like me that never quit and stayed in decent shape.
Yeah.
And now we all got some money because we've been working our whole lives. And so, so there's, I don't know how you pay for this thing if you're going to let the public come in every day. I don't know. I don't know how the numbers would work. You got to still have the electricity to make these waves. I know the guys running this would be happy to talk to you.
The Kelly Slater pool, I know what they charge there, and lots of people fly into there. I think people would be stoked to fly into El Salvador and pay that same kind of money.
I don't deny that at all, but you have to do the numbers, and then 100%. Somebody's got to pay, and then you got to get it built.
Yeah.
Once we have this technology out there, it's viable, it's working, it's proven, we want to franchise it. I don't know. I'm against intellectual property rights because in order to enforce them, you need the violence of the government. I think they're trademarking, not necessarily patenting it, so I'm not sure, but nobody knows how it works unless we let them in to see.
Yeah.
So if you want our technology, you're going to sign an NDA and we'll work it out. But I know they have plans to build it out and make more. So I don't think they care. If someone's got the money and wants to do it, I'm sure they'll come down here and do it.
Yeah.
And they'll come down here and surf the natural waves while they're doing it because they're surfers, so why not? So it's been a really interesting, fun experience going through all this. It's pretty wild.
Well, have you guys are you guys building any like condos around it or anything that will be like beachfront? You're there, you're living there?
No plan for that.
Okay.
Our property's not big enough.
Okay.
It's in like an industrial area,
Okay.
so it's just other big buildings. Like, there's no people don't live there, but it's right in the middle of Long Island. It's like 15 minutes from this airport that's in the middle of a little local airport. It's about 50 miles from the tip of Long Island, Montauk Point. It's about 50 miles from New York City.
Okay.
So it's not hard to get to at all. And there's so many people on Long Island that,
You're going to have a helipad there so people can helicopter
That's a good
in?
idea. I don't think it's in the plan, but it's not a bad idea. But I don't know. It's just an amazing experience that I've been involved in. It's all because my friend Chris asked me, and I've been his builder for most of my career. He's hired me to fix his house and his commercial building over and over again. So I was kind of one of the natural surfer friend builder, like, hey, you want to help us? So for 8 years, I've been voluntarily helping design this thing.
Well, I think it's a very viable thing to bring to El Salvador. I think the government would be behind it just because.
If the government pays, they got the money.
Well, just for them knowing that it makes them a world-class destination. It's one more thing. They're already focused on surf. Yeah. They're already, it's expensive to bring in the WSL contest here, all these other things that they're focused on. And so I could see them wanting to have like a premier wave pool. And, and before too long, that's like 40, 50 Bitcoin, at the rate we're going. So
if you want to, who to get in touch with, if you want to pitch this to them, I'll make sure we make all the right connections. Right. The guy you want to speak to is my friend Chris's son, Brett. He knows everything. He's, like I said, he's in his late 20s, but he's a really smart kid. He went to business school. And what's interesting, in business school, every time there was like any kind of project or essay or something about something regarding business or building a business or running a business, he always took the experience of him working on this wave pool and used it in college to satisfy the requirements of different classes, which I thought was classic. Because he's involved with a thing outside college, a real business while he's in college, and I just thought that was really cool. So he knows everything, and I know he's happy to talk to anybody who's serious about this.
No, we've been exploring this for the last couple of years, and I think in El Salvador you could actually do a model where you build condos around it. It's like a beautiful place that and then you're like living there. You just go downstairs and you're surfing. Obviously you can take some land that's not worth that much now, but you place it on a wave pool. You're basically selling beachfront property to people. So I think that with the right combination of investors and incentives from the government, I think it will work. So if there's any wealthy, any Bitcoiners out there that are wondering how they want to use their stacks to benefit El Salvador and the surfing community, hit me up. Because we want to make this happen. So that's exciting. So you're getting close to like.
We're hoping it's up and running in about a year. We still got to raise some more money. So, folks, if you want, you want to help us out, get the first one going.
Who do they hit you up? Or?
Yeah, it can hit me up, DM me on Twitter or something like that, and I'll get the connections going.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the quickest way. I mean, or you can go to Crest Surf Clubs with an S.
Okay.
That's crestsurfclubs.com. It might even be just crest.com. I forget. CREST. That's the name of the franchise. And there's a computer 3D simulation of what the whole place is going to look like. Sweet. So you can see that. There's a lot of information. There's going to be contact information in there as well. So you can go right to that website and contact the people involved or through me. No problem. So,
awesome. Yeah. Well, I expect an invite when you get this.
Dude, I want a big Bitcoin party. I can't wait to host a couple hundred Bitcoiners and all these noobs that can't surf. We'll give them a bunch of 1-footers, put them on some 10-foot longboards, and they'll all be standing up at the end of the day, and it'll be awesome. And my friend Josh, who does the beefsteaks, I want to have a big beefsteak dinner there too. So yeah, it should be good.
Well, I think that's a good note to end on. I know you got a plane to catch.
Unfortunately, where I wish I could stay. I love it here. This is great.
Where can people find you? And if they want to use the advisory service, they hit you up on Twitter, or what's the best way?
Yeah, Twitter's the best way. It's my only real social media. Okay. So Surfer Jim W on Twitter. You can hit me up, Surfer Jim at thebitcoinadvisor.com. Advisor spelled with an ER at the end.
Okay.
And send me a message. I do live Zoom calls with our clients all the time, so you can book on my calendar. If it's open, just put your name in there, and I'll be there, and we'll talk.
All right.
And I'll talk surf parks, even if you book me through the Bitcoin Advisor. It's all good. I just won't let them know that I'm using the platform to sell surf pools. But it's all good. Yeah, I'm easily accessible, I think, and I'm out there. I'm on a lot of podcasts. A lot of people know who I am now, so it's fine. I'm amazed. I pinch myself all the time, like, how the hell did I get here? I got friends all over the world. I got invites to stay with people in every continent. If you're ever here, I got a room for you. I'm like, what? People all over the world know me and like me enough to invite me over? I'm blown away, dude. I'm so blown away by the whole thing.
The Bitcoin community is pretty amazing.
It is amazing. Oh, and the halving party was so good. 3 days of solid Bitcoin. It was so good.
I loved, too, that it was less schedule and more just social time. Because that's always the best part of the conference.
Totally.
Is out in the hallways and all that. The having party was mostly that.
Yeah,
so.
It was so much fun. It was a great resort, you know, all inclusive. So you didn't have to think about buying food. You just go get some food. That was really good too. Sean, who was Big Sean Harris on
he
Twitter,
did an amazing job.
And the whole meme factory was excellent. Greg Zaj, he's a good friend. I mean, these guys put in a lot of work. And Yellow showed up. I mean, what a character. This guy is so funny. I've known him for years now, and he showed up, and I got to give him a big hug. And if you ever hear him, he'll be on Spaces once in a while. He'll go, well, you see the market and the red lines, and there's a reverse triangle, and just go to the moon. And he's like, he's mumbling, right? Yeah. So I go up to him, I go, Yellow, how you been, bro? This is a really good party, right? And I'm like whispering in his ear, acting like him, and he's just hugging me and laughing. Oh, what a great experience, man. These Bitcoiners are awesome.
I got to meet him. He told me he's going to come in on the podcast. We just got to figure a way to cover his face. So.
Yeah, he'll work it out.
Yeah.
It was a great party. So thank you for hosting me here. This is really an honor. Like, you guys are doing good things down here. And for you to want me to come in and talk on your podcast is really flattering, and I really appreciate it.
No, we appreciate you coming in. And, hopefully I'll see you here in November.
I am seriously thinking I better schedule that. Yeah, I really want to come back. I want to surf here again. I like the vibe. I like Bitcoin events, and this is my first trip. I got 1 day in the water because I was at the party. Luckily, I got out there pretty early. Got a couple hours in. I got a couple waves.
Nice.
And I'm just stoked that I got to
check out Punta Manga.
Look, if I come in November, I'm going to come for a couple weeks, and I'm going to travel. I'll get a rental car. I'll make sure I check a lot more out. You know, this is a real quick trip. Unfortunately, I would stay a couple more days because I'm going to Texas. BitBlock Boom starts on Wednesday, but there's an eclipse tomorrow. So I'm leaving today so I could be there for that. So, but next time I'll plan it just an El Salvador trip. I'm actually very much looking forward to it now that I've been here and got to experience it. So, and I love it. I got to walk around El Zante. So now I kind of like know the lay of the land. So when I hear other people talking about it, I go, oh, I know where that is. It's very cool. Like, I feel like, this is a home for me. Like it feels very comfortable.
Well, there's lots of people. You gotta be careful. There's lots of people that plan on coming down for just a few days and then they never leave.
I met a couple from Australia. They've been here a year.
Yeah.
I'm like, did you plan that? No, we just love it, and we're still here.
Wow. Yeah, you hear multiple stories like that. It's funny.
Well, thank you.
Let's get you out of here so you don't miss your flight.
Thank you.
We'll see you in November.
Excellent. I'll be here. I'm committing right now. I'm coming.
All right. Perfect.
Thank you.